And welcome back, everybody, to part three of my top 50 albums of 2017. I hope you enjoyed it so far. I love doing this. This has been an awesome project. Again, just really quickly, if you haven't seen the other two, please do so. That way you can have an idea of what I like this year. And that way, so I don't, you don't throw in any comments of like, why isn't this here? It might already be there. But again, of course, two big things. These are only albums that I have listened to personally this year, and these are my opinions and mine alone. If you have an issue with any of my opinions, please let me know, but of course, do so courteously because, of course, you could always make your own top 50 list if you choose. It's very easy. You just have to listen to 100 or plus albums in a year. But, anyways, with this one, you might see certain albums that I've reviewed and kind of panned on this particular one, just because you'll see just how unfortunately weak this year is in terms of music. So, without further ado, let's continue with number 30. And number 30 is The National's Sleep Well Beast. Now, personally, I've never been a huge fan of The National. It's not that I don't appreciate their music, it's just not for me. Something about the lead singer's voice just never caught on with me. I tried to enjoy their last album, Trouble Will Find Me, because it got a lot of accolades, but personally, I did not like that one much. However, for some reason, this one worked well for me. I was just reading a book, listening to this album once, and it just the music production and his voice just somehow reached me this time around. Now, I don't like it as much as everybody else does, as you can clearly see, but I still enjoy this. It has a lot of really interesting and deep songs. Just the chilling music and the haunting vocals, the baritone vocals, work very well on this for some reason for me. Nobody Else Will Be There is an awesome starting song. The System Only Dreams in Total Darkness, I heard that on the radio for the first time and I really liked it, and I didn't realize it was them because it doesn't seem like their type of song, but it works very well. Walk It Back is a haunting song. Born to Beg is a beautifully haunting song as well. Carrying Out the Liquor Store, I really like that one. Even the ending song, Sleep Well Beast, works very well. Again, this is not my style though, so that's why I don't put it as high, but still a really cool album and a really hauntingly beautiful album for some reason. So if you are, is that up your alley? Definitely take a look into that album. All right, we're at number 29, and that one is Khalid's American Teen. Again, another CD that I'm a little bit down on compared to others. This is his first CD, another R&B-ish CD. A little bit of alternative R&B. Um, a beautiful voice for a teenager, and it works very well for him. There's a lot of really cool songs in there. Young, Dumb, and Broke, Location, Coaster, Cold Blooded, Therapy, even Angels. Angels, if you listen to the stripped down version of it, is beautiful. And I see a lot of talent and hopefully a lot of, if it keeps going, a lot of accolades in his future. It just doesn't it doesn't grasp me as much as some other certain R&B CDs that you'll see later on this list, but it is a great first outing. Definitely a album to check out if you love R&B. Number 38 is Jason Isbell and the 400 Unit, the Nashville Sound. Now this one, this is probably one that I love a lot more because of a certain song on there, uh, but still a great CD. Um, and what I love about it is one of the singles titled "If We Were Vampires." That is it's an amazing love song, and a beautiful love song. I would love to cover it someday, and that got me hooked onto the CD. But there's still a lot more on there to keep me wanting more. Last of My Kind is a very interesting beginning song talking about being the last of his kind of a musician. And then we have uh, White Man's World, again talking about race in a white man's world, which is an interesting concept, and talking about um, you know how we need to be better in race relationships with everybody. So it's a pretty progressive song, in somewhere that I never thought I would find it. Um, uh, Anxiety is kind of a down song for me. Don't like it as much, and that's probably what drops it the most. And again, the fact that there aren't enough songs that are incredible on there, but there's a lot of solid songs. Something to Love, Chaos and Close, Hope the High Road, Cumberland Gap, all of them very solid. So if you are a lover of like Americana music or alternative country, um, like a little bit of country rock, you're gonna love it. Um, Definitely a solid CD that just missed the top half of the top 50 list. 27 is Mac DeMarco, This Old Dog. Now, when I talking about previously with Kurt Vile and Courtney Bennett, this weird, um, music and songwriting, it reminded me of this one. And this is one that was recommended by my friend at work. And it's a really good CD, like I say with all of these. It's quirky. It kind of has a Wilco feel to it, but a little bit more upbeat. And as you can see, if you actually look at the YouTube playlist for it and go through some of the songs, you get these like weird lyric videos of like, the only way I can describe it is like outdated like 3D models, something that you would have found of like in the early like 2000s, and it's just really weird and yet funny and yet somehow works with these songs. But there's some also really beautiful and touching songs on this album. I would say the highlight for me is Moonlight on the River, which is talking about death and the hardness of it, and being like, I would see you next time if I thought there was a next time. All these like different thoughts, and it's a very powerful song on the CD. Not to say that there isn't a lot of fun stuff on there as well. Just all these like quicker songs that are that meld the line of beautiful and fun. Like This Old Dog, Baby You're Out, One Another, all these more up tempo acoustic songs. It's just an interesting CD. It's a quirky CD and one that just has stuck with me throughout the year. So if you're into that type of style, check it out. Number 26 is Foo Fighters, Concrete and Gold. Now, if you've seen my YouTube album review of this, you know that I didn't like it as much as certain other CDs on this year, and I thought it was a little bit mediocre. But again, like I said, this is a weird year where there isn't a lot of standout CDs. So something like this can creep close to the top 25. And re-listening to it, it is a solid Foo Fighters album. The only problem is it doesn't stand out as much as other CDs because they have such a great extensive collection of great songs. The singles don't stand out as much. when you hear a more bland song, you definitely can tell because of their prior work. But this is the most uh, versatile, the most eclectic of songs, if you will, showing their range. When you have something like Sunday Rain, which is a little bit more Beatles-esque and more bluesy, and then you get something like Dirty Water, which has more folky feel with jazz chords, and but still like also shows that signature Foo Fighters um, range of just going from soft to hard and over time, which works so well. Then you get something like Sky is a Neighborhood that is a little bit more southern rock-ish. You get something like Run, which feels more on the heavier side. You get something like Make It Right, which has a more southern rock kind of like Led Zeppelin kind of feel, and just all around really interesting songs that mostly work, except for a couple that feel stale because they could have been on any album, or unfortunately, the last song, Concrete and Gold, which should not have been on that CD. If Concrete and Gold was not on it, this probably would have made the top 20, if not potentially top 15. But that one brought it down. And also just the weird cameos on there that didn't really do much. Justin Timberlake's on there, Paul McCartney's on there, and they just don't really do anything to make these songs better or worse. So, very solid hard rock album, much better than their last outing. Just in general, just like with this year, isn't as great as the rest of their discography. So now we're on to the top half of this top 50. And we're going to start with number 25, which is Steven Wilson's To the Bone. Now, if you don't know Steven Wilson, he is a progressive artist. Best known for Porcupine Tree, which is something that a friend of mine has gotten me into. And he's done a lot of solo work, which, again, my brother has told me a lot about. And I love his last CD, Hand Cannot Erase. I've listened to a lot of the Porcupine Tree discography, a lot of really good stuff on there. I'll probably talk a lot about it at some point in time. But this one, as a progressive artist, this is his most, again, eclectic album to date. And sometimes good, sometimes bad. So for me, it's a lot of the bad is at the ending part of it, but it starts well. To the Bone is awesome. Nowhere Now is really cool. Pariah is a little bit too poppy, but still it has an interesting sound, an interesting concept. Still don't really understand it, but sometimes he gets a little bit too artsy for me, but it works. Same silence as before. The same as silent as before. Probably my favorite song on the album. Permeating is an interesting song. Blank Tape is a nice interlude. People Who Eat Darkness is a fantastic song. And then it gets a little bit at the end. Song of Unborn is a really cool ending song. But the bad songs show. The mediocre songs show on this. And there wasn't really any mediocre songs on Hand Cannot Erase. Definitely take a look at this one if you love progressive music. It is, again, it's a mixed bag of a lot of stuff. It does tend to go towards the poppier side at points of progressive, but it's still really cool. I love that it shows his range. Just, again, not as great as Hand Cannot Erase. So once you get to that one, then listen to the more complete Hand Cannot Erase, because that one's so much better. Number 24, and this is where we're starting to get. So before we had a lot of CDs that were good, had cool ideas, but weren't as solid on their ideas as they could be. Now we're getting to a point where we're having more not as complex CDs, but all very, very solid. Not really any breaking points, any bad parts to it. So we're going to start with number 24, which is Liam Gallagher's "As You Were." As I said in my previous video, um, I was going to get to this one eventually, and now we are. It's actually funny, when Rolling Stone was talking about these on their top 50, they put them together because they thought that it was inseparable. And at first I was going to make the joke of, oh, they're not inseparable, they're just one apart. But as I listened again, I thought this was a much stronger album. This has that Oasis feel to it that we have been missing. It starts great. In the middle is still great. Uh, all of it, like, there's only like a few songs on here that I don't really like, or that I thought are just eh. Um, from start to finish, it's a really solid CD. Brings back that Britpop Oasis feel that we've been looking for. Wall of Glass is a killer song. For What It's Worth, another single that is great. I have All I Need, beautiful ending song. Paper Crown, another underrated song on there. Just, there isn't really a bad song on there, but again, it doesn't bring much new stuff to the table, so it's a little bit lower than other stuff. You know, if Noel Gallagher and Liam Gallagher could put a band together, you know, let's see what could happen. You never know. We might get that back, and it would be really cool to have those two sounds back together, because you never know what could happen. So now we're on to number 23, and that is Newton Faulkner, Hit the Ground Running. I have been a huge fan of Newton Faulkner since my college days. A friend of mine told me about him, and I got entranced by the way that he plays guitar in such a way that you don't usually hear. I'm trying to teach myself it because I think it's fascinating. And he's grown over his time. A lot of his songs earlier were very upbeat, very happy. He's always had that type of happy feel throughout most of his discography. We get to Studio Zoo, and it's a little bit more scaled back. He does it in his actually own studio in his house. So it's really cool because it's a lot of bare bones stuff. And then Human Love comes out, and then it's a little bit more produced, which was an alright CD, but you could feel the production, and it got a little bit too poppy in some aspects. Hit the Ground Running goes back to more of a combination of the two, and this is where you finally get to see him like belt out as a singer, and it's really cool to hear that. Fingertips, fantastic, like groovy, sexy song. Then you get Hit the Ground Running, another one where you can see him show off his vocal range, not just his guitar range. He shows off his vocal range on a lot of his songs, but he still shows that he has the guitar skills to do really cool stuff, such as like on Smoked Ice Cream, the beginning of it, and even just like the whole song in general. Been Here Before is another really cool guitar idea. There Is Still Time. It's a beautiful, like, conscious, like, stream of consciousness idea for a song where he's just like seeing everything on his mind right there and then. Never Alone is another good one. So Long is really cool. The last two songs in the album aren't great, which is the reason why I put it a little bit lower, as well as some of the other songs aren't as great as his other stuff. But if you haven't got into Newton Faulkner, definitely take a look at this one. It's a good way of showing his vocal range, his guitar range, and hopefully more people can get onto his bandwagon because he's an awesome, awesome musician. So number 22 is Painted Ruins by Grizzly Bear. This is another beautiful CD that kind of suffers from the singer. It's not that I don't like the CD. I thought it has a lot of really cool concepts on there. that I haven't heard in alternative music, in indie music in general. I thought it was really cool. It reminded me of a lot of stuff by Alt J, and I like a lot of Alt J stuff. It's just for some reason, after I kept listening to it, it was just another beautiful CD with not enough substance to me. Um, but I still love it. I still think it's really cool. I'll listen to it just for the music. Um, Morning Sounds of Morning the trilogy of Morning Sound, Four Cypresses, and Three Rings sounds really cool. I really like Neighbors and Glass Hillside, and I love the last two songs of Sky Stole and Sky Took Hold. There is a little thing in the middle where it's a lot of, again, beautiful without substance. But if you're looking for that beauty in indie rock, take a look. It's really cool. And then finally, we're at number 21, and this is going to be another shock one, but I'm going to put Electric Guests plural on here. Now, I said before that I didn't like the CD as much as their previous one, and this actually won shows because I put the other one in the top 5, and I put this one not even in the top 20. But when I kept going back to it, there's a lot of stuff on there that I just loved, and I just listened to constantly. Um, I mean, from the get-go, you got Zero, um, you have Back and Forth, um, Dear to Me, just a lot of really, really solid songs. Now, it's not as varied as, say, Mondo, but it's still really, really good CD, and a really good electric CD. This one's up my alley. It's always playing for me. But the only downside, again, is just um, it's not as interesting in some areas. It does lack in certain songs. But even listening to it again, some of the songs I didn't like before, I found a newfound liking to. So if you like electric music, listen to the CD and then listen to Mondo. Hopefully you'll enjoy it as much as I do. And if you need more in-depth on this one, you can check out my album review for it. But anyways, this is the end of the part 3 of my top 50 albums of 2017. I hope you enjoy it. We're getting down to nitty gritty. I got one more video and then a special video right afterwards. So stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, if you like this, like the video, comment on what's your top 10 or what you would like to see in the top 50. Subscribe to this channel so you can see more of this. Share it with your friends so they can also see. And you know what? Just keep on looking out for part 4 of this awesome project. Until then, I'll see you in the next video. Peace.